A car is stuck in the snow. The doors are unlocked. There's a quarter tank of gas. The keys are gone. Inside, half-eaten snacks. A rolled-down window. No blood, no struggle. No sign that anything went wrong. And yet 5 grown men who were sitting in that car an hour earlier have vanished off the face of the earth. One of them will be found 4 months later inside a locked cabin roughly 12 miles away. Starved to death, tucked under 8 sheets, surrounded by food he never touched. One of them will never be found at all. This is the case investigators still call the American Dyatlov Pass. This is the disappearance of the Yuba County Five. On the evening of Friday, February 24th, 1978, 5 friends climbed into a 1969 Mercury Montego in Yuba City, California, and headed north to Chico. The car belonged to Jack Madruga, 30 years old, a quiet Army veteran who rarely let anyone else touch the wheel. With him were Jackie Huett, 24, Bill Sterling, 29, Ted Weiher, 32, and Gary Mathias, 25. All 5 had grown up together through the Gateway Projects, a Yuba County nonprofit that helped adults with disabilities live independent lives. 4 of the men had mild intellectual disabilities. Gary Mathias was different, an Army veteran who'd been given a psychiatric discharge and diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, now stable on daily medication and, according to his doctors, one of their genuine success stories. Together, the 5 played for a basketball team called the Gateway Gators, and the next morning, they were supposed to compete in a Special Olympics tournament in Sacramento. The winning team would get a trip to Los Angeles. Their uniforms were already laid out on their beds. That night, though, was just for fun. They drove roughly 55 miles to Chico State University to watch UC Davis play the Chico State Wildcats. After the game ended around 10 p.m., a convenience store camera caught them stocking up for the ride home. A cherry pie, a lemon pie, a Snickers bar, a marathon bar, 2 bottles of Pepsi, and a 1.5 quarts of milk. It's the last confirmed footage of any of them alive. Then, they simply didn't come home. When the men failed to return, their families called police the next morning. 4 days later, on February 28th, Madruga's Mercury Montego was found abandoned on the Oroville-Quincy Highway, deep inside Plumas National Forest, roughly 70 miles in the opposite direction from home, stuck in a snowbank on a remote dirt road that made no logical sense for their route. What investigators found only deepened the mystery. The car had a quarter tank of gas, the doors were unlocked, a window was rolled down. The snacks from the store were gone, eaten, but the keys and the 5 men were nowhere to be found. 5 able-bodied men could easily have pushed the car free of the shallow snow it was stuck in. They didn't, and despite the brutal rutted mountain road leading up to it, the car's undercarriage didn't have a single scratch, as if whoever drove it up there knew that road by heart or drove it with impossible care in total darkness. A heavy winter storm shut down the search almost immediately. For months, the mountain gave up nothing. During the search, investigators took a statement from a man named Joseph Schoens, who'd been driving through the same area on the night the men vanished, suffered a medical emergency, and gotten his own car stuck in the snow. Schoens said that while he sat trapped in the cold, he saw flashlight beams and what he believed were people moving along the road nearby. He called out for help. The lights and voices went quiet. Hours later, he said the flashlight beams reappeared, but no one ever came to help him. Eventually, Schoens made his way out on his own. Some retellings of the case add other details to his account, including a woman and child among the group, but those specifics aren't consistently confirmed across investigators' records, and no physical evidence was ever found to support them. What's certain is that Schoens's report is the only first-hand account of anyone possibly being on that road the night the men vanished, and it's never been explained when or past. The search stayed frozen, literally, until June. On June 4th, 1978, a group of motorcyclists riding through Plumas National Forest stumbled onto a Forest Service trailer near the Daniel Zink campground, roughly 12 miles from where the car had been found. Inside, they discovered the badly decomposed body of Ted Weiher lying on a bed, tucked under 8 sheets pulled up around his head. The autopsy suggested Weiher had survived inside that trailer for somewhere between 2 and 3 months before dying of hypothermia and starvation. He'd lost as much as 100 pounds. He'd lost several toes to frostbite. And yet, food rations stored in and around the trailer sat largely untouched. His ring, his necklace, and his wallet, cash still inside, were set neatly on a table beside the bed, along with a gold watch that didn't belong to any of the 5 men. His own shoes were missing. 2 days later, on June 6th, search teams found the remains of Jack Madruga and Bill Sterling in the Granite Basin area, about 11 miles from where the car had been found, on opposite sides of the mountain road. Animal activity had scattered and damaged both bodies, making cause of death impossible to determine with certainty. Madruga's hand was found still curled around his watch, and the car keys were in his pocket. The next day, search teams, including Jackie Huett's father who had joined the search, located Huett's spine and shoes about 2 miles from the trailer. Huett's skull was recovered roughly 100 yards away the following day. That left one man unaccounted for: Gary Mathias. Here's what's actually known for certain. Weiher's own shoes were missing when his body was found, and a pair of sneakers belonging to Mathias were discovered inside that same trailer. That's the whole confirmed picture. From there, it's speculation. One theory holds that Mathias swapped his own shoes for Weiher's larger, sturdier pair as his feet swelled with frostbite, which would mean Mathias was alive in that trailer at some point, tending to his dying friend. But it remains just one possible explanation among several, and no one has ever been able to confirm it. And then he walked out into the snow and disappeared completely. No trace of Gary Mathias has ever been found. Not that year, not in the decades since. His family has always insisted he'd never have gone this long without contacting them, medication or no medication. And in 2023, a records request surfaced in internal Yuba County Sheriff's Office memo, written years earlier, stating plainly that Gary Mathias was believed to be a victim of foul play, and that the case remained open as a missing person and homicide investigation. The memo included instructions that the Mathias family not be told. No new physical evidence was released alongside it. Nearly 50 years later, nothing about this case adds up cleanly. Why did 5 men with no history of reckless behavior drive 70 miles in the wrong direction onto a mountain road none of them had reason to know? Why did they abandon a working car instead of pushing it free? Why did Ted Weiher, surrounded by food, choose to starve? Why was there a stranger's watch on his nightstand? And who, if anyone, was on that road with Joseph Shans the night the men vanished? There's no evidence of gunfire, no knife wounds, no confirmed struggle, just 5 friends who went to a basketball game and a mountain that has never fully explained what it did with them. Theories still circulate, everything from a simple tragic case of getting lost in the mountains at night to something far more deliberate. Families of the men have long believed foul play was involved and have pushed, as recently as this past year, for the case's original forensic evidence to be independently re-evaluated. No official reinvestigation has changed the outcome. The file remains open. The mountain remains quiet. If you've made it this far, subscribe. This channel exists to make sure cases like this one and the people at the center of them are never forgotten.